Oh, yeah, I know we're doing another random live, but yeah, I got some info to put out. This one will be oh, let me do this. Let me open this door. For some reason, oh, there we go. Got that turned off. I don't want to drain my battery out. I don't know if you guys remember, but one time I was doing a video. I was doing a live video sitting in my car, and I literally had the car running the entire time. Well, the electronics in the car running the entire time, and then the car went dead, and I had to jump it. So that was fun, right? This will be a so I've gotten a lot of feedback. Believe it or not, I do look at the comments. And I take some of what you guys say into consideration. So a lot of folks were saying, oh, T, could you like shorten the videos and like do more of them? Because 2 hours is too long and no one's going to watch a 2 hour long video. Well, I'll say a few things to that point before we get started. I don't do a lot of videos, right? Like I said, I'm not engagement farming, so I'm not going to come on here like I used to when I felt there was an urgent need. We're at the tail end of a lot of the legality battles, at least regarding Ripple and XRP, right? It doesn't mean that you won't see some others rise up. I saw the situation with consensus, but I don't really worry too much about Ethereum. Ethereum will only fail when the institutions don't want to profit off of it anymore. So I'm not really concerned about that. But I knew the smear campaign that was going on against XRP and Ripple because Gary Gensler told you what they were going to do before they even did it, and then they enacted the playbook against them once Gary took hold of the chair, right? Obviously, Jay Clayton was the one who dropped the lawsuit, but Gary Gensler has been seen pretty much as the face of it because Clayton left the day after he dropped it. And part of that, the Gary Gensler was put in there strategically to go after crypto because he's so familiar with it, right? Hence his lectures at MIT. Let's take a look at these comments. She said, shit, make it 3 hours. L Smooth, what's going on, man? What's up, folks? Deuce, what's up? ¿Qué pasó, mano? What's good? What's good? Espero que esté bien. Let's see who we got up in here. All right, so we got folks coming on in. So there's actually a few things I wanted to touch on. I had a really good conversation today in the group chat, right? Me, Kurt, Crypto 901, Kev, Outlaw, Chico, Chris Bennett, all of our folks in there, man, and me, of course. We were having a discussion, and the point was brought up about ETFs. I guess they had came out, and I don't know where they released this at, but I saw a snippet of it that staking wouldn't be available like for something like an Ethereum if you held an ETF or ETF, if I'm not mistaken. Now that's interesting, right? Because when you think Ethereum, you think what, proof of stake, the option to earn interest on what you're holding with those institutions, essentially, or with whatever bodies offering you those rewards. But here's what you have to understand regarding staking, right? Staking only applies when you relinquish control of a physical asset to an institution or to some sort of a company that's going to offer you a return on that, right? Meaning when you hold an ETF or any sort of an exchange traded product, you don't actually hold the physical asset itself, right? The fund, you have to think, just because it's an ETH or Ethereum ETF, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only token within the fund, right? There may be an allocation between several different tokens in one fund. So if you see a scenario or a setup like that, that means that when you buy into that fund, you're not holding Ethereum. You're not holding any of those cryptocurrencies. What you're essentially going to get in return is some sort of a cash redeemable, reward, right? Like you'd be able to cash out of it for fiat, but make no mistake about it, the institution that's offering the fund uses those cryptos as the underlying assets to power it, right? So you are never going to be able to. This is why I told people ETFs are a gift and a curse, right? They're great for exposure and for institutions, but for the retail investor that's buying into them, man, no. All right. I'm not a financial advisor of any sort, so this is strictly my perspective and my opinion. If someone came to me and marketed a crypto ETF, I would tell them to go screw themselves, right? That's just me, right? If I want exposure to the crypto market, I'll buy it directly, right? You have more leverage, because what's likely going to happen is you're going to see these guys holding fractions of quality cryptocurrencies associated with these funds and maybe making, less than minuscule returns on these investments. And then you're going to see the folks who hold the underlying assets that are powering these funds being able to go into institutions, you know what I'm saying, presenting them with the product, and then them saying, okay, we have these services for you if you're willing to lend us your crypto for a specific amount of time. They take the crypto. Who knows what they do with it behind the scenes, right? Maybe they start using it. Maybe they throw it into liquidity pools and become contributors to those global pools. And, it works in correlation with an AMM of some sort. They start, reaping the benefits from those fees regarding the arbitrage, taking them off the top. And then maybe they pay you a set percentage when they're the ones taking the risk. They'll probably get a way higher return. They may offer you something conservative, like a 4 or 5%. Maybe they're making a lot more, right? But at least it's safe, right? I know that may not be ideal for some people, but you probably see some sort of a scenario like that happen in the long term, right? What's up, Quincy? Crypto B-Boy. Crypto B-Boy said financial institutions can get in and out of ETFs, exchange for different forms of currency or assets because they hold them in large amounts. RLN, I don't know if that network is, I'd have to, you talking about the regulated liability network? I think that's what you're talking about, right? Let me take a look at it. God, I was just reading about that not too long ago. I would tell you guys, don't be so focused on who's going to use what, right? I would try not to think of it in that context, right? People get wrapped up in that a lot. Like, what's RLN going to use? What's UDPN going to use? Are they only going to use this? Only going to use that? And you got to think, if folks are using Quant or Overledger, one of the main use cases for Overledger is to connect institutional clients, enterprise level clients, with the networks of their choice, right? So Quant is an operating system based interoperability solution that has communicative properties as well between networks. So even if they did use Quant, that doesn't exclude any other protocols from being used as well, right? Or Overledger, I should say. So I kind of wouldn't worry about that too much. You're probably going to see use of several different protocols that offer institutional grade utility within this world, right? A whiteboard? No, I don't have a whiteboard in the back. I'm in my car. Typically I'd be outside here at the park, but it's raining and I'm like, man, I don't want to deal with that. And I don't want to get any water damage on my phone. So I'm definitely not going to do that, because that's how my last phone, well, the charging port got damaged. I guess it was like moisture damage somehow, and it rains a lot out here. So I got to be careful. I don't want to end up in another scenario where I need another phone prematurely. I can't say that prematurely though. I had that phone for years. It's a Galaxy Note 8, man. I like that little phone. What's going on? What's going on? No grocery shopping today. I did that yesterday. Man, I feel like I'm always at the grocery store. I'm like, Jesus. But yeah. So we're gonna explore some of what I put in the title, right? That was a brief recap on a few subjects. Something else, right? So if you guys follow me on Twitter, I know last video we touched on this, and I kind of wanted to bring this up. This is why one of the main reasons I did this video, right? Other than just to come on here and shoot the shit with you guys and kick it and chill out. Excuse me. My sinuses are starting to act up. This weather went from like 70 something, 80 degrees to like this. It's terrible, man. I'm like, my God. So if you follow me on Twitter, and if you were tuning in to the last video that I did, we talked about questions that you should ask David Schwartz and Brad Garlinghouse, right? A lot of people ask, I won't say stupid questions, but stuff that they're probably gonna laugh at or snicker at and just ignore, right? When moon, when $20,000 XRP, when burn escrow, stuff like that. Like, come on, guys. Like, they don't really care about that. How knowledgeable were the brothers and sisters in Colombia on digital assets? A few people down there know a little something about it, but not many. And they have some pretty harsh economic conditions in South America. So, I mean, now El Salvador and other countries like that are, engaged in, some of the Bitcoin usage, wind, sun. Yeah, I know, right? They'll be a little bit more familiar, but yeah, usually in a lot of, countries like that, you're not going to see too much talk about it. At least not on the mainstream level. But with that being said, the questions that you should ask Brad Garlinghouse, David Schwartz, the questions that I posed were very simple for the chat. How do you reduce the circulating supply at the same time increasing demand and creating a scenario where long-term holding becomes a thing with reduced selling, etc. Right? So no one was asking. When I talked about this on Twitter, I was like, folks, maybe that's something that you should ask. Well, I noticed that no one was asking, so I took it upon myself. I also, David Schwartz said, ask me anything, and I proceeded to troll David and ask him how much could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. And to that question, obviously I didn't get a response, but that's perfectly okay, because I went on Brad Garlinghouse's AMM post and posed the question since no one else was going to ask. I saw that question and appreciated that question. So the question was, Brad, do you see an environment where we have a reduced circulating supply of XRP, and in correlation with that reduction in circulating supply, we see an increased demand for the token simultaneously as well? And then do we see a store of value narrative somehow attached to the token, where it would incentivize folks, venture capitalists, banks, companies, to hold the token long term? Also, is there a utility catalyst that would require institutions who are enacting in certain activities to keep a reserve pool? Now, I have some really good theories on how that could happen, but I wanted to ask the question, and it got a lot of good feedback. And one person was like, do you expect him to freaking answer that? And I said, look, all right, not really, right? Because I don't think they can answer that. Because if they answer it, then I think, number one, I know the cliche answer is going to be NDAs, but if you lay out how, because he's got to be really careful with what he says, right? Brad Garlinghouse and David, both of them. David opens his mouth a little bit more than Brad about stuff like that, but with Brad being the CEO, I get it, right? I didn't ask the question expecting a definitive answer or response from Brad Garlinghouse. What I wanted was for people who are in the know, who are knowledgeable within the community, to start dialoguing under the post, right? And us coming up with theories together on how we reach that type of an ecosystem or environment regarding crypto in general, right? So for the gentleman who was like, you crazy, he's never going to answer that. I already knew that. All right. I know he's not going to answer it. That's not the point. The point is to invoke thought and to get us engaged in constructive conversation outside of Win Moon, right? Instead of Win Moon, how do we get to a healthy ecosystem where certain things happen that enable us to have a sky's the limit type of a scenario for a lot of these assets that are utility driven, right? What's going on, Gigi? What would your plans be post liquidity event? I don't know. If I held crypto and it went to the moon, I don't know, right? I've pretty much cut everyone off that I think is a negative or could be a liability potentially. I think I got a few more that I could probably shave off, but I'd complete that, and then I don't know. Like I said, if I held crypto and it mooned, I'd probably, depending on what it mooned to, if it was significant enough to net me well over $10 million, I'd probably liquidate a few mil, definitely pay off all debt, hire a legal team. I'd keep a family law lawyer on or family law attorney on retainer anyways. Criminal law, I'm not out here running the streets or doing anything stupid. So, I mean, there's really no need for that. But if I would probably at that point, being worth that level of money, yeah, I'd have both. I'd keep my family law attorney on retainer, and then I'd actually bring on a few different types of attorneys. I'd have a probate lawyer, I'd have a tax lawyer, I'd have a CPA on staff, and I would have a criminal law attorney as well. So I'd have, I just have them on retainer, and let's be honest, it probably wouldn't cost me any more than $20,000 to pay those retainer fees, if I'm not mistaken. So, probably even significantly less than that, depending on where you're doing it at, and which law firm you're going with. Usually retainers will run you around, family law tends to be really expensive, but I don't know, it's not terrible for a retainer. It just depends on what you're doing with that lawyer. About $3,000 or so. Depending on who you go with. Like I said, I like a certain quality, so I'm going to deal with the certain type of law firm. But like I said, that would be my first order of business. The next order of business would be trademarking my own name. And then I would trademark other people who don't like me, who I know don't like me, who don't wish me well. And then I can control what you can say about me, right? And I have no problem with people speaking the truth. It's the lies that you got to look out for when people know you're successful and wealthy, right? And like I said, I wouldn't really worry too much about that. But people will do stuff like, I remember, think back to when I was doing videos earlier, and I told you, you got to really watch yourself, even like when you're out in public, right? Someone may trip, fall, bust their head, and then somehow it's your fault, right? And they'll be saying you did it, stuff like that. And when you come into wealth, you don't even have to say it. People are going to know, now, will they know definitively? Not necessarily, but people like that, who are your enemies, they watch everything. Their enemies or people, and I don't have many, but there are people who don't like me, who are probably on my channel and on my page and on my personal pages more than I am, right? And that's how people of that mind frame work. So scrub your stuff, make yourself scarce, make your presence scarce. Thanks, Victor. I appreciate it. Let me take a look at these comments. The Navy, well, I mean, I'm not in the Navy, but I work for the Navy, and they're treating me fine. Been working for the same organization now for quite a few years, so same old, playing around with systems, networks, servers, the good stuff. I can't complain, man. It pays the bills, and I couldn't see myself working for another organization, or I'm where I'm at, until I'm not, and that's probably going to be whenever I retire. So yeah, I'm doing Crypto Arnold. Why are you selling? Don't sell at the bottom. What are you doing? Finish the plan. Yeah. So that's the thank you for not letting my ADHD kick in. The plan, right? So that would be the first part: scrubbing people out of your lives, protecting your name, making sure you have your legal staff on board, get to the spaceship. Taking care of all the legalities first, right? Your taxes, if it's a significant boom, right? Best case scenario, shave a few million off, and have it liquid, pay all your debt off. After that, for homes, I like to travel, so I honestly don't know everywhere that I would want a home, right? Now, here's the thing: if I were going to do homes in different countries, I wouldn't do houses, right? I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing that I say is financial advice. But if I were going to jump in the real estate game and I were jet setting, I would have condos in different places, right? Like, let's say Thailand, let's say, Colombia, let's say DR, let's say PR, right? Now, PR would be a destination I'd probably spend more time in. So I would probably have a home there. And, you got family over there, so friends over there. So, that's a place I could just park myself at for like maybe 3 months, 4 months out of the year, right? So that it would make sense to have a home there. And plus I would want something well built that could withstand the weather. We all know, the Caribbean gets hit hard by hurricanes. DR, I'd probably have a condo. The other countries, I'd probably have like condos, right? And I'd be looking, at somewhere around like the $200,000 to $300,000 range for all of those places outside of the house. $300,000 in other countries like that is going to get you something very nice. Depending on what city and state in those countries you live in. Antioquia is the state that Medellin is in. So if I were to buy something there, I think $300,000 would get you pretty far, right? And just kind of diversify that way. Now, you'd have to, if you wanted to make passive income off of them, you'd have to look at the laws. Some places may not let you Airbnb it out. But places like Colombia, like it would almost be worth it to get like, in those types of places that have high tourist traffic, to get a conglomerate of investors together that you trust and going on developing like almost hotel type structures, right? And profitable areas like Laureless is an area I would personally invest in because it's nice, it's down the hill, it's not near a lot of danger, it's seen as an upscale area in that particular area, city. So you start looking at stuff like that, right? Obviously, if these banks and institutions are going to be paying interest out, depending on how this stuff is laid out infrastructure wise. That's another passive income generator. So what I'm getting at basically is after you have a few mil liquid, you have your debt paid off, you have your legal team on staff, passive income, right? And that's something I would be thinking about before liquidity. Like, how much passive income do you need? And for the goals that you're trying to accomplish in terms of diversifying, if you're purchasing properties, how much money would you need to maintain those properties? Now, if you're not going to spend, and this is a conversation I have with my pops, if you're not going to spend, more than a few months in a certain destination, don't buy a house there. Like, don't just buy a bunch of homes just to buy them, right? Because then you have to worry about, the real estate market goes up and down as well. You don't want to be upside down on anything. And also, let me check my battery life. Oh, I'm golden. God, that feels good, right? My other phone was dying all the time. But you don't want to be upside down on stuff. And then, look at where you're buying at. Like if I buy a house in PR, DR, anywhere in the Caribbean, I know that's a risk, right? I know depending on where it's at, if a hurricane hits it, I'm screwed. So you have to be willing, depending on where you buy property at, to eat that risk and just say, if something happens to it, hey, que se joda, like I'll take it and I'll move on. And if I want to buy another one, then I'll buy another one, right? So weather disasters, infrastructure, etc. You'd have to look at all of those things. Now, in terms of moving out of the United States, the best advice I could give is look at medical infrastructure and safety, right? In terms of Asian countries, if you want my honest opinion, I think Thailand has one of the better medical infrastructures, but I think Singapore is probably, it's a personal favorite, so I'm being a little biased here, but in terms of safety, cleanliness, medical infrastructure, they're pretty top notch, but it's expensive, right? So you have to know that as well. If you're going to be moving abroad, cost of living, just because you may be wealthy or rich, it doesn't mean that you need to go to Dubai and be paying $4 million for a home and $500,000 for a car. And, that stuff costs to maintain. And so for me, like I said, I don't know, outside of maybe traveling a little bit more, if I would have much of a difference in lifestyle if something like that were to happen for me, right? I'd have a home base here in the States or two. I really like Seattle, so I'd probably have a property there, maybe somewhere like Texas, Nevada, something like that, and kind of bounce between those two. Puerto Rico, like I said, I'd have a house there. Now, would I buy in other places? Maybe, right? Like maybe I would do Colombia, right? But everywhere else, if I weren't, I'd have to sit down and map it out. If I weren't going to live there for 3 months at a time, I would just Airbnb it, right? And some of those countries are so cheap, and you can get stuff that's nice for a good deal. If you do an extended stay, it's not even worth having the hassle of having that property. The next thing I would recommend unofficially, because this is not financial advice, trust funds. If you have kids, if you have family, and then here's the thing with that, right? Property wise, I would look at developments that have like duplexes in their subdivision, right? The nice townhome duplex type builds. If you have multiple kids, buy them a duplex. There you go. They could use it as a starter home and then fix it up if they need to, run any repairs they need to, and then sell it if the time comes, and then they can go their separate ways. But, if you have 2 kids, there you go. That's a perfect setup for them, right? And it may not cost you any more than $400,000 to get that done. So thinking about things like that, thinking for the future, having, like I said, those trust funds set up for your loved ones, life insurance, obviously. You would also want to have, this is something else that folks don't think about. If you get old and you become incapacitated and you can't take care of yourself anymore. Now, the bad thing about that, even if you're rich, a lot of times you'll have a scenario where these nursing homes and these facilities will they'll take your assets from you, right? Like if you have property, they'll make you sell your property or they'll take control of it, right? And these folks are charging like $10,000+ a month for you to be in their facilities, right? So it's something that's uncomfortable that people don't want to talk about, but this is why the work doesn't stop after you get wealthy, and you would still need to generate a significant amount of passive income, because not everyone can. I mean, my grandmother is still up and at it, like still moving around, still sharp, and not everyone's going to get to their 80s, 90s, 100s and be like that. Some folks are going to have early stage dementia, whatever ailments, and you may not be able to take care of yourself. So if you're fortunate enough to run into a significant amount of wealth while you're young, this is something that you need to be thinking about and putting away for. This is also why I talk about going to the gym, taking care of your health, etc. Right? And I'm noticing and I'm gonna point something interesting out to you, and I don't mind it, but I'm gonna tell you, I was at over 300 viewers. Now that I'm talking about passive income generating, taking care of your health, investing in legal protection, and diversifying and generating, like I said, that passive income, dropped down almost 20 viewers, right? This is the reason why you're going to have a lot of people screwed over. And no offense to the people that left, that's their choice. But folks don't want to hear anything but win moon, win rich, etc. A bunch of dumb hype. All right. Those type of channels, if you want that, go over there. All right. But this stuff that we're talking about is going to sustain you in the long term, because $70 million doesn't mean anything if you have a stroke because you're not taking care of yourself and you don't have contingencies set up behind the scenes. Right? I'm just saying. And you're going to see people like that, right? That they're all about the fast money. They're all about getting rich, and they haven't even thought about any of this stuff. And so, like I said, I know it's boring content, right? That portion of it. I know no one wants to think about that, but if you have enough money, you can build yourself to a place where if you do need assisted care or you have to go to a facility, you can afford it comfortably. And there's nothing wrong with buying to become rich, right? That's great. That's what you should be doing, in my humble opinion. But what do you do after that? What do you do if the worst case scenario happens? What do you do if you can't walk anymore? You get into an accident. This type of stuff happens, man. I don't think there will be more than 10 to 20,000 holders with more than 10,000 XRP after we hit a 4-digit price. People will sell and are not in the right mindset for of generational wealth. Yeah. Exactly, Vic. Yep. So, I mean, that's why I'm talking about this stuff, right? Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, so take it with a grain of salt. Now, we're going to get back into the David Schwartz, Brad Garlinghouse question regarding reducing circulating supply, creating a store value narrative from for the token somehow, and seeing an increase in demand at the same time. So I think it's getting hot in here. I'm going to deal with the rain. Because it's super hot. I'm just going to go get under a gazebo. All right. We're back. Oh, that's wet. I don't want to sit there. Here we go. That's better. All right. So, Sorry about that. Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz didn't answer my question, right? Nor did David Schwartz answer the woodchuck question as well, but that was to be expected. With that being said, why didn't they answer it? Well, like I was talking about earlier, obviously there's stuff they can't talk about, but if they were to lay out how that token would eventually actualize, or how they would actualize a store of value narrative for the token, that could be seen, I wouldn't say as a security offering, but at a bare minimum, you've put out, you've given away your competitive edge against everyone else in the market who is building stuff from a utility perspective, right? If you let that secret sauce out of the bag, you're basically, giving the playbook to everyone else on how to compete with you and on how to build certain types of solutions. And maybe some of the solutions that need to be built to enact a store value narrative to the point where you would see a reduction in the supply, and a scenario or an environment where you started seeing bodies with large amounts of capital acquiring and holding the asset, they could shoot themselves in the foot if they come out and say that. Now, it would have been cool if they would have answered it, but I didn't want them to say, well, this is how we get there, and this is exactly what we're going to do to make sure that happens. I simply wanted to hear whether or not they would come out and state that, yeah, we could see an environment where this happens. Now, we're not going to tell you how, but in the perfect world, things coming together properly, sure, that could definitely happen. You have never really heard David Schwartz or Brad Garlinghouse say anything about the reduction in supply, right? So this kind of ties back into the age-old coins in circulation and market cap argument. Does it matter? Yeah, it matters in this environment, and I said that plenty of times, but long-term, if you see the right amount of demand for the asset, let me give you an example, right? It matters, but in the future, it could not. And here's why. So folks were saying, well, in order for XRP to hit $20-something a token, it would have to have the market cap of Bitcoin, right? Now, with that being said, that would lead your average person to look at that equation and say, well, wait a second. So if it had the market cap of Bitcoin, it's only going to hit $20 now. For some of you guys out there, $20 is a godsend, right? But for a lot of people, they're like, that's nothing, right? That $20 isn't that much. But they need to get a tune-up, man. That van. But anyways, you're right? For it to hit the market cap of Bitcoin and for it to hit only $20, sure, like that may seem, less than significant to some people, right? I don't think it is, but a lot of people will think that. But here's what you have to understand about that equation regarding XRP's market cap hitting Bitcoin's market cap. The coins in circulation, okay, that is based directly on the amount of tokens that XRP has currently in the circulating supply in correlation with the market cap, right? So what happens in an environment where, let's say, there becomes a situation actualizes where there is a massive demand and you start seeing way more buying and not just XRP, right? Any utility driven asset with over $1 billion plus in circulating supply, this would need to happen, right? You would need to see a reduction of the supply so that the market cap, think about it like this. Let's say in a perfect world, right? And this is totally theoretical, right? But it needs to be discussed regarding coins in circulation and market cap. Let's say you see a bunch of financial products built off of XRP. Let's say you start seeing ETFs, a bunch of other vehicles coming out that require acquisition of the asset and then holding to power a multitude of different types of investment vehicles. Maybe there's certain utility use cases that need to be enacted where it would be not necessarily a requirement, but best practice for them to hold reserve pools of the token. Let's say all of these companies banks, venture capitalists, large institutions, even central banks start having a desire to hold reserve pools of multiple digital assets that enact utility. Let's say they start acquiring them and sitting on them, right? Now, suddenly, if you look at the circulating supply of the asset, and let's say it's only 500 million to 700 million XRP circulating, what do you think the market cap of XRP needs to be with a circulating supply of maybe 6 to 700 million tokens in the wild or on the secondary market in order for it to significantly appreciate in price? Do you suddenly think it needs a $100 trillion market cap to go to $100 if the circulating supply is in the hundreds of millions suddenly, right? You see, I know what the skeptical mindset is regarding the asset, and the argument that's usually used is that it'll never get there, right? XRP is a worthless asset. The network's archaic. It's slow. People don't want it. Banks aren't using it currently. On-demand liquidity isn't even a value proposition. US-based customers are no longer using the XRP token to facilitate cross-border transactions and remittances. That includes cross-border. The market cap is already too high. The circulating supply is too high. And if there's not going to be a demand because we think the technology sucks, then that token's just going to sit at 50 cents forever and it's not going to go anywhere, right? I've heard all of the arguments. I know them all. I'm familiar with them. And I get why people feel that way, right? But I'm here to tell you, in my humble opinion, my hypothetical perspective tells me we're not going to see this ecosystem regarding any of these quality utility-based assets that have significant institutional interest in this type of situation for too much longer, right? You just have to understand that building this type of environment, building consortiums, building interop between private and public environments, changing, the way that our value is moved right in front of our faces is a huge task that has to be completed. And there are laws associated with that as well. And I think the Blockchain for America Act, I don't know where the progress is of that. Everyone's been talking about that as of late. I know folks are scared that Joe Biden may veto it, but I'm going to tell you right now, it looks like crypto's at the epicenter of this election. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens from this point moving forward regarding this administration's decisions as to what they're going to do next. Because if he vetoes that bill, when it comes across his desk, he can forget getting elected. I can tell you that right now. That's not going to happen for him. So, with that being said, and these are all points that I'm getting ready to touch on now that I've touched on before. The whole narrative that there's no banks using it is a lie. All right, that's not true. There are banks using it. There are banks that are partnered with Ripple that will eventually use software that settles with XRP. That is the whole goal behind what Ripple is trying to accomplish here. And if they're trying to accomplish that, and you start seeing, like I said, the QNB scenario where they start migrating away from correspondent commission with the other institutions that they're dealing with, right? Because QNB is a major hub as well. What do you think happens at that point, right? You would likely see an environment where reserve pools of multiple digital assets becomes a thing. And if you have reserve pools, that means you're holding it, right? That means there's suddenly a store of value narrative attached to those assets, right? And I wholeheartedly believe you see that. If QNB's partnered with Ripple exclusively and migrating away from correspondent commission, if the Central Bank of Georgia has partnered with them as well, now there are other POC partnerships, but those two seem pretty legitimate to me, right? And I tell you, if we see things continue to go down this road regarding money transmitter licenses, banking charters and licenses, you name it. I think folks who hold certain utility driven assets will be very happy in the end. Love you guys too, man. He said, I want you to be right, B. You know what? For me, I'll be 100% honest, right? Because anyone who's doing content in this space, we all want to be right, right? All of us have egos, whether we say we do or don't, right? To an extent. The question is your ego out of control, right? Are you a narcissist? Are you one of those folks that, you know, you think you have to be right about everything? And then the reality of it is, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, I am not right about everything. And there's probably, you know, quite a few things that I've missed along the way, or that I didn't catch, or that I wasn't 100% right about. But when I started doing this, my goal wasn't to be right about everything. And it doesn't mean I'm not right about most of the stuff, but that was my goal, right? To be right more than I am wrong, right? And it's not for any other purpose other than to help, right? So, to your point, I hope I'm right too. Oh, he said, I don't know you. I say do a backflip. I've never seen that comment before. Oh, okay. Before the other day. Shout out to Panama. We got Panama in the house. Thank you. Thank you. You think banks will give us the option to sell directly to them, or do you think it will be through a crypto exchange? It'll probably be through some sort of an exchange, right? Now, if you're talking about selling, well, this is probably what would end up happening, right? Exchanges are eventually going to be absorbed by larger banks, right? In my opinion, right? I think you start seeing the acquisition from some of your top correspondent banks of that infrastructure, because they have centralized exchanges, but when it comes to the decentralized trading of these assets, they're not going to want to look. The banks don't have folks that level of smart working for them to build that type of an infrastructure on that big of a scale, is what I'll say. It would be easier for them to absorb pre-existing infrastructure and then just use it, right? In my humble opinion. But I could be wrong about that, right? Hey, man, maybe they do have a kick-ass team of developers, or maybe they're going to start hiring for it, and they'll bring their own people on board to build their own infrastructure so that you can go see them for everything. But I do know that banks at some point are going to offer custody services for your average retail investor, and you may see a scenario where you hold even more than them. Some of you. So the smart thing, in my humble opinion, not official financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is simply my perspective. If you choose to, you can take my perspective and pair it with yours. As always, make sure you do your due diligence and research before making any purchases within the crypto or stock markets, and understand the risks associated with jumping into the crypto market, because you could lose everything. Now, with that being said, I would leverage my asset. I would leverage my assets at that point. I wouldn't even sell, right? I'd sell a little bit, like I said, to give myself some instant liquidity to make some moves with, quick moves, right? Like I said, no more than probably 4 or 5 mil liquid. And then after that, passive income generation, right? And that's what I see. Here's the thing, right? That you have to also keep in mind. When you start talking about passive incomes from institutions, we don't know what it looks like yet. Like, we don't know if these folks are going to offer you monthly payments regarding interest. We don't know if they're going to offer them yearly, and you have to wait an entire year to reap those benefits. I would think it would be monthly, right? And then obviously, if you have a tax attorney and you have a CPA, you would make sure that the interest that you're getting paid each month, money gets set aside for tax purposes, right? And that's where your team would come into play. And you need to be on top of it as well. Like, okay, I'm making, and this is totally just hypothetical and theoretical, but let's say I'm making $35,000 a month in passive income, something crazy, right? Well, at that point, you're probably going to be paying close to 40% in income tax. So Hell, if you're just willing to stay on top of it, you just make sure when that interest payment rolls in, you take 35% off top, maybe even 40%, and set it aside, right? And don't do anything with it. And if you already have a few million liquid, you can afford to do that if you're not living outside of your means and you're debt free, right? So just little things like that to think about before this even gets here for you guys is going to help you out long term. If I have 20K in XRP, shouldn't I move that into ETH? Put twice as much back in next. I'm not going to answer that. Hey, bro, I don't advise folks on trades or, shifting, money in and out of your funds and then going into something else and then trying to jump back in. That ain't why I'm here, brother. Now it's getting cold out here, so now I'm going to go back to the car. So no disrespect, but I would tell you, if you could find a crypto financial advisor that's, if that even exists, that's good with the trading aspect, that's a question that I would ask them. Me personally, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but me, I wouldn't do that. Unofficially, of course. Oh man, I gotta go to the gym today too. Jesus, man. I hate going to the gym when this weather is like this. I'm like, fudge. Yeah, like I said, I'll let the folks in the chat tell you about that. I'm not going to say it because I'm the one on here giving the content. But liquid money plus passive income or multiple businesses that can equalize and add to passive income over the next several years. Slow money at the right time, probably after the election. Linda, I need glasses. Does that say Yacarino? Said the currency we know will end September 2024. She is the CEO of Twitter and also on the board of the WEF. I missed the gym. I had soldier surgery out 5 months ago. Don't know about Caspa. I've heard decent things about it. Tau, don't know enough about it. GBEX, I've touched on that. I think GBEX is pretty cool from a utility perspective. They got a nice little liquidity setup over there too regarding they have, I think GBEX, correct me if I'm wrong, I think GBEX has liquidity pools. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, and that's attached to the XDC network. So, stuff like WadsPay, GBEX, I'm an XDC freak, so I mean, me personally, I can't tell anyone else what to do, but I like all those projects, all three of them. He said, "Hey, T's Crypto Spot, how long does a beta usually run?" You're talking about like for software, like a beta test? Well, I mean, until all the bugs are worked out. Which is funny because Ethereum's probably got to be one of the I'm gonna catch some flack for this from my ETH folks in here, but I have always looked at the Ethereum network like one of the longest running beta projects out there that has not been completed fully yet. But yeah. I've seen them run. It just depends on the system or the application that you're building. I mean, I've seen them go. I've seen stuff in test environments for 6 months to a year, maybe 2, right? It just depends. Are you doing? And see, that's the thing, right? Is it one system? Like, are you dealing with a multitude of systems? Physical network components, workstations, servers, applications on top of that. Like, it just depends on how big the overtaking is. But I mean, if it's just an application or it's just, some sort of I don't know. Like I said, that's kind of a hard one to fully answer. But I will tell you this, if Ethereum truly is a beta from my perspective, how I'm viewing the software, or you know, the code and all of that, then it's got to be one of the longest running. I mean, but that's just my perspective, that it's not a completed product, right? Um, there may be devs out there that disagree with me and say, oh, you know, everything's good with, you know, ERC20 and it's perfect and, you know, it doesn't need anything else and blah, 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 right? A tokenized for settlement, a tokenized ledger for settlement with 12 to 20 banks. How long do you think that beta test would run? A tokenized ledger for settlement with 12 to 20 banks. Well, that's hard to say. Maybe 2 years. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you'd have to test, right? I mean, first off, are those 12 to 20 banks doing this on a public mainnet environment? Or are they doing it in a consortium, right? Are there permissioned or private blockchains where this is happening? Is it a smart contract application type ecosystem on top of being a consortium? Is there a scenario where they're using smart contracts to interoperate with messages that then interoperate with some sort of a payment token or FX type token for settlement? Is there, is this a neutral bridge asset that's going to be introduced to the ecosystem, and they're going to run that in correlation with the smart contract applicator? What are they using for security at that point if they're going outside of the consortium and then interoperating with some sort of a mainnet, right? That's a lot. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd have to know more on all of the components to that project. What do you have to say about people who keep saying that market cap won't allow XRP to be a higher price? They're right, partially. But the factors that they aren't taking into consideration is supply and demand. If you see, like I said, financial products being built off of the token, investment vehicles that require long-term contracts regarding holding and acquisition from institutions more than they actually go out and sell it, if you start seeing institutions desiring reserve pools to enact efficient utility regarding use of the token, if you start seeing, like I said, a scenario where that circulating supply, all of those things lead to the circulating supply dwindling down significantly, then at that point, like I stated earlier, the market cap of the token itself wouldn't have to go to like 500 trillion for you to see a significant price point, right? At that point, it doesn't have to do as much as previously thought, because and I touched on this earlier, and I'll just give you a brief recap. There was a comparison done on Twitter regarding what would XRP be at if it hit Bitcoin's market cap. Well, if it did, I think it was like $25 or something like that. I can't remember the exact number. But here's the thing. The circulating supply of the asset is in direct correlation with that market cap and price of the token as well. So you have to factor that in, right? What I mean by that is if XRP were to have the same market cap of Bitcoin and the circulating supply was way lower than what it is now, it wouldn't be $20. I tell you that right now. So what you want to see are solutions, use cases, and store value narratives attached to something that has that high of a circulating supply that dwindles it down, right, significantly, and relatively quickly. That would be a good thing, right? But with, healthy liquidity, you like to see things gradually kind of ramp up. Now, can it happen like that? If the right things are in play and there's a big enough need and demand for it, hey, I don't know what can happen. I'm not a market maker. I'm not I don't work with the IMF. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. All right. But you will just have to see. But those are the things, those are the catalysts that you would need to see happen essentially for that token to get to a high price. So yeah, market cap matters regarding the circulating supply, but in an environment where there's a strong enough need and demand and desire for the token from venture capitalists, banks, multi-million and billion-dollar companies, etc., it can negate those things from being a hindrance to high price action, right? No problem. Some of these YouTubers have like 400,000 XRP. Of course they do. Do you know why some of them have 400,000 XRP? And this is no hate, but this is just a fact. They have probably decent careers, and if they don't, they're devoting all their time to YouTube and probably making like $50,000 a month, right? So if I were doing that and I quit my job and I sat on here and I told people what they wanted to hear all day and took your money and then charged for Discords and the whole nine and lined my pockets, I'd probably, hypothetically have 400,000 plus XRP too. But I don't do that. I'm just a normal Joe Schmuckatelli with the cell phone in his hand, just trying to help people so that they don't screw themselves. Hey, Keto, what's going on? Vic Nunya said, that's why we love you too. And I don't have anywhere near 400,000 K or 400,000 XRP, nor would I ever, right? I make a decent living for myself, but I don't make that type of money, and I'm not going to drain people on YouTube during one of the harshest economic times that we've had, probably since, look, people ain't getting foreclosed on like they were in 2008 yet, but I'm telling you, man, stuff's gonna get, it's already bad. Like I said, it's bad. XSP, I just talked about XSP the last video. I like it personally. I like the project. I'm right there with you, Xander. Same here. Even with what I make, I ain't touching 400,000 XRP, man. That's a lot of money. That's why you're blessed, T. Yeah, sometimes I feel like life keeps, hitting me upside the head occasionally, but hey, I guess any day above ground could be considered a blessing. So that's definitely a good thing to still be here. I'm definitely trying, man. I appreciate the love. Like I said, I don't nail everything constantly, but that's not why I'm here. I'm just, like I said, here to help and keep an eye on those regulations and laws, right? Like I said, stuff's moving increasingly fast for an election year. Like I said, I still keep going back to that. This is abnormal. The bipartisan support as well. Something's coming. I just don't fully know what, because it hasn't arrived yet, but no, I don't even know who John Gray is. Yeah, I remember the lady who spoke. I think for me, man, what kills me, right, especially about life, I've dealt, and it's really unfortunate, right? Like, I've dealt with a lot of like betrayal, right? Like it's really weird too, man. Like, like I was the type of person, like, when I have friends, like, and I'm not saying like I have good people in my life, right? I have great friends, friends who have become like family. I can name them right now off the top of my head. But I've also dealt with a lot of people, man, where like, I'm talking like friends where like I'm putting you on to stuff. I'd give you the shirt off my back. I'm not going out here talking bad about you. I'm not hating on you. I'm just being me. And then next thing you know, folks get really weird, man. They start hating on you behind your back. They start talking bad about you. And it's like, you gotta like, I'm one of those people, you almost have to like lie, you know, outright to like say something bad about me, because I'm really easy to get along with, man. Like, I'm really easy going. I'm chill, you know. You ain't got to worry about, you know, I'm not one of those guys like, you know, there's a lot of grimy folks out here, man. And I'm kind of venting about this because it just sucks when some of the folks that you just knew were going to ride up to a certain place with you and we're going to be right by your side, you end up having to like cut them off, right? It sucks, man, because like, I'm not the type of person that even likes to do that with people. Yeah, I do brush them off, right? But I used to be that type of person. I'd give chance after chance after chance. Like, and then I just got to a point, man, where it was like, you know what? Like, I'm not the type to be sleeping with my homies' girls behind their backs. I'm not the type to lie on you. I'm not the type to hate on you. I'm not the type to do any of that type of stuff, or, you know, sideswipe you. And then, you know, you start seeing that some of those things happen to you, and it's like, dude, like, and you know, I got to a point with certain folks, like, you know, the moment you showed any sort of funny business, you're just done, man. Like, I'm not giving you an explanation, especially if I've given you explanations before, you've apologized and been like, oh man, I forgive you. You know, it's like, you know, we're in our like 30s and 40s, man. Like, I shouldn't have to tell a grown-ass man or woman, like, hey, you're doing stuff that's wrong and nefarious to me behind my back, or even to my face directly. Stop doing it, right? Like, you're old enough to know better, right? Especially in a friendship, man. Like, friendships are supposed to be easy, right? Like, they shouldn't be work. Romantic relationships are typically going to be work because, you know, that's your partner. You're going to have to consider their needs, their wants, and vice versa, right? So I could see that being work and you having to put forth effort. But for a friendship, man, like, outside of just being there for one another, like, it shouldn't even be like that. Like, and it just sucks, man, that like it sucks that I have to come on here and say stuff like, you're going to have to really clean up your circle before this stuff even happens. And that was one of the things I had to do, right? Like, where it was like, there are folks around me, even if you haven't done anything to me directly, I'm one of those people, like, I observe a lot. And like, it's funny, like, my coworkers will even say, like, I don't say a lot. I'm probably one of the most easygoing people, you know. Like, one of my coworkers, he was telling me one day, he's like, man, dude, like, he kind of looked at me and he was like, you don't ever say no to anything, do you? And I was like, no. And he was just like, man, that's like really cool. He's like, you know, and then like, I remember we were coming out of one of the buildings. He kind of looks at me and he says, man, like, you got a really good heart, man. Like, just in general, like, you just have a good soul. Like, you're just a good dude in general. He's like, I don't know how you keep your patience sometimes with some of the stuff that like you've even gone through at work. And it's like, I'm just like that, you know? And a lot of you are going to go through that where you're easygoing, you're easy to talk to, you're humble, and, you know, you're going to have folks in your circle that are jealous of you, man, you know, and it doesn't seem like jealousy, but anytime you're dealing with folks who go behind your back, who do stuff like that, may lie on you, may want what you want, you know, nothing ever seems good enough. You know, they kind of look at you, you know, with disdain, or, you know, but they're supposed to be close to you, or, you know, they make comments like, oh, well, you know, dang, you got more than me, or you make more than me, but, you know, I'm happy for you. You know, weird things like that. Like, you have to pay attention to that. And you also have to pay attention to people who don't. It's one thing to be a loner. It's another thing if that person has driven off people from their lives because they're the problem. Like me, I'm an introvert, right? So you would look at me on the surface and be like, man, this dude like likes to stay in the house, kick it, and play video games and go to the gym, you know, and he's not really around a lot of people. But with that being said, just because that's like my favorite thing to do, it doesn't mean that I don't have at least 5 to 10 people that if I really needed them and I called them, they'd be there, right? That's folks who don't have that, start looking, don't automatically judge them, but start looking at their character and and listen to them. You know what I'm saying? I've learned this throughout the years. People will tell you exactly who they are before they show you. You just have to be willing to observe and listen to them. And a lot of times when we're involved with people, and I'm touching on this, I know it's not crypto related, but it is, because a lot of you guys are going to have parents, you're going to have cousins, brothers, maybe even folks that you consider a best friend, but they're not really your best friend. You're their best friend. You understand? And I don't want you guys to come into wealth and you have people like that attached to you, right? So you don't have to be lonely. You just have to have like-minded individuals that have the same type of heart you do. All right. I'll give you an example, right? And this is a funny story. Okay. And I'm going to tell it, right? I'm not going to mention any names, but I'll tell you how, like, I gauge someone's character, right? There was someone I used to be friends with back in the day, right? And I cut this person off because I found out some foul shit that this person said and did behind my back, and they don't know I know, right? And they don't know the source that I got it from. So they're probably sitting here like, damn, man, I haven't talked to this fool in like 3 years. And, you know, I don't know why, you know. But like I told you earlier, I just cut people off. Like, I'm not going to go down that road, especially if I've already had these conversations with you and you keep doing shit, right? But this individual said something that always stuck with me. And I didn't judge the person necessarily, but it was weird. He told me one time, and I don't even know why he told me this, but he was like, you know, I remember when I was on vacation in a certain city and I saw, you know, one of my good homeboys, I saw his ex-girlfriend in the same city. We just happened to be in the same city at the same time on the same street or same place. I can't remember, something like that, right? I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. I said, so what happened? And he was like, well, you know, we ended up in a hotel room and we ended up sleeping in the same bed, but, you know, nothing happened, right? I mean, you know, because, you know, he was my man, so, you know, I didn't mess with her, but, and I'm sitting here, I'm listening to this, right? And I'm like, wait a second. So a dude you were close to, right? You just happened to be coincidentally in the same city as his ex-girlfriend. Somehow, and here's what's interesting about this, right? See, I'm too smart for my own good sometimes, right? Because I listen to everything. So if this woman was in the same city, you're on vacation. She just happens to be in the same city, same street, but you both were in the same hotel room, sleep in the same bed. Well, let's say hypothetically she was on vacation. She didn't have her own hotel room. Why'd she sleep in yours? If she lived there, wouldn't she have her own place? And if this guy was close to you, why would you feel comfortable sleeping in a bed hugged up with his ex-girlfriend? Huh. Okay. So, like I always do, when I hear things that are questionable and I'm friends with someone, I don't initially cut you off, but I take it and I put it in a mental lockbox. All right. And that is obvious, right? But to some people would brush it off. And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of people will brush it off because a lot of people are like that, right? At their core. Like, people will toss around sex partners between one another and think, oh, it's not a big deal. You also have to pay attention. People will throw things out there to see what you're okay with or to see what your reaction to something is going to be. I'll take it a step further and take it even deeper. You said that's obvious. What if that never happened? What if that scenario was made up? What if this person made an entire freaking story up to see what my reaction could be so he could gauge me because maybe he had plans to do something like that to me? You got to think. Just saying, right? So you learn a lot about your circle and people that you're surrounded with by how they treat others and what they're willing to do with others, even on a smaller scale, right? Because some folks would say, well, what does it matter? That's his ex, right? He doesn't care about her anymore. Klaus Schwab stepping down from the WEF. I mean, come on, man. The guy goes to conferences dressed like a freaking Mortal Kombat character. Dude looks like a European Shang Tsung half the time. Yeah, he needed to step down from the WEF. Guy's a lunatic, man. See, you see what he said? He said, ain't no fun if you're broke, can't have none. And some people think like that, right? But I'm gonna tell you what's weird about that, right? If you're around someone, like for me, if I'm around someone and it's a serious relationship, not some jump off stuff, or they're creeping together, or they're sneaky links, even still, right? Like, I was never the type when I was in the scene to go after my homies, because motherfuckers be nasty sometimes, all right? Like, look, I'm not dipping behind any of you weirdos. And for those saying, oh, just put a condom on, look, let's take it back to sex ed. Condoms ain't gonna stop you from catching high-risk HPV or fucking herpes, all right? We're adults here. I'm just gonna keep it real, okay? That stuff can come from skin-to-skin contact. So I'm not saying, like, you should treat all your friends like they have something, but you shouldn't be dipping behind your friends anyways. And a lot of dudes, we know how dudes get down. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of dudes are freaking scoundrels, bro. So, like, look, let's just be real with one another here. Some people are just off limits even years later. Yeah, and that's my thing, right? That was always my thing. Like, number one, that's awkward to me to see true love expressed between two individuals living together. You've tried to build a life and it didn't work out, and then I'm just gonna creep in and, like, what? I tell you, folks like that, like, and I'm using that just kind of as the icebreaker to touch on people who are just grimy in general, right? It's not limited to that type of thing, but people who do stuff like that, they're not doing it because they wanted the girl. They're doing it. I'm gonna keep it real here, all right? Since we're talking about life, they're doing that type of stuff because for one or two reasons. And follow me here, all right? And shout out to my LGBTQ folks. No disrespect to you guys at all with this comment, but it's one or two things. They just want what you have because they're secretly competing with you, or they want you. And maybe they're not comfortable living in their truth and just coming out and saying, you know what, I'm a homosexual and I'm attracted to you. So the closest way to feel like they're having some sort of an intimate relation with you is to go after you constantly and sleep with the same partners you slept with. Now, physically, they're not getting that connection with you, but if you believe in soul ties and energy exchange, they're absorbing that intimate energy from the partners that they're sleeping with, that they went behind you with. I know, a little bit deep, right? Bingo, they want your soul. He said they want to be you. Yeah, they either want to be you and they're jealous of you, or they want you. All right? And we're going to touch on the last topic. Diddy. P. Diddy. The Diddler, a.k.a. Sergio Rosa from Get Him to the Greek, which is one of my favorite movies, by the way. What do I think about the P. Diddy situation? Look, man, you know, Diddy, I don't even know where to start with this guy, man. Diddy freak-offs. Yeah. I'll tell you like this, and I'm touching on Diddy because it ties into crypto, believe it or not, right? Here's the thing. I don't care about Diddy being gay or black. I mean, whatever. If you sleep with men, or you're a woman and you sleep with women, that's your business, man. That's not why Diddy's on the chopping block. Diddy's on the chopping block because it's alleged that he's sexually trafficking individuals, raping individuals, drugging and raping individuals, and as you saw in the video, he's beating the hell out of them. Get crypto rich and start throwing Diddy parties, man. Listen, like I said, that's why I'm touching on this. All right, look, folks, look, all right, especially if you've gone through any sort of sexual abuse or trauma, it's going to be even more paramount for you guys out there before you become wealthy to make sure that you've dealt with it, that you've addressed it. Maybe you need to go sit down with a trauma specialist. Like, not any therapist is going to do. You're going to need someone specialized to sit down with you and guide you through how to deal with that. Okay? Because if you don't, when you do come into wealth and money, that's how you end up. You end up like a Diddy. Okay? Come on, man. Don't, please, man. I'm trying. I'm trying to be serious right now, man. You guys in the comments. What do I think about PLI plugin on XTC? I have to take a look at it, man. Like I said, it's been a little bit since I've done deep dives like that. Come on, y'all, man. Please don't mention him in that, because I don't. Next thing you know, I'm gonna have people coming to my page being like, "You said such and such is rich and are gonna get rich and do freak offs like Diddy." Come on, man. Please, it's you guys got to stop, man. Please. Maybe to the old live question. Do you say Yankees or Yankees? I say Yankees. You mean Yankee, like Daddy Yankee, like, or Yankee? Is that why you're asking that? I just say Yankee, man. Meek got drugged and come on, man. Y'all are terrible, man. Look, we folks make jokes, right, about the Meek Mill Diddy situation, but the truth behind it is this. All right. That's unfortunate if he was blackmailed, coerced, and drugged, and then raped and sexually assaulted, and developed a case of Stockholm syndrome. All right. If it's true and they're doing their thing, that's their business. All right. But what I don't want to see is folks get a certain amount of wealth and money and you start thinking you're untouchable. Okay. Because that's what happens. Folks get money. They got a bunch of unresolved trauma and craziness that they've never even scratched the surface on. And then you start engaging in hyper deviant sexualized behavior, because who's going to tell you no? And when I say who's going to tell you no, number one, you're going to have a lot more opportunity in terms of sexual partners at your fingertips. And then on top of that, the world's pretty much your oyster. So, don't end up like that, man. Because if you're looking at this unfold, as you can see, it doesn't matter how much money you have when you don't have your honor or your legacy intact or your reputation solid as a man. Okay. None of that's going to mean anything. He could still, here's the thing. Diddy may have been smart enough to eliminate any sort of incriminating evidence that they could find on him, and made sure like that he crossed his T's and dotted his I's, right? But when he looks at himself in the mirror, he's still going to see that guy that everyone else in the public sees now, because he's been exposed. Okay. And as a man, sometimes all we have is the legacy we leave behind. What do you think? What type of legacy? How do you think people are going to look at that man's kids now? And do you think he even cares about that? Maybe he does, if he's got any sort of decency in him. But maybe he doesn't, and I'm going to tell you, he may put on a front like he doesn't care, but when no one's around him and he's by himself and he's got to sit there and live and all the shit that he did, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to haunt him, man. And not just because he got caught, but because eventually, man, it all comes tumbling down. And all of that negative energy that he's harnessing inside of himself from all the stuff that he's done to people, raping them allegedly, drugging them allegedly. You know, we damn sure know he'll put hands and feet on a woman like that. Like, and I saw people coming out and saying, oh, you know, she stole a Rolex, $100,000 Rolex out of his room, and he chased her down and took her bags to search the bags. Look, I don't know any of that. All I saw was him coming out of nowhere and throwing her down like he was freaking Scorpion on the ground, and then giving her a freaking field goal kick. You know, I was like, man, bro, like that. I tell you, don't get rich and become that guy. And I'm telling you right now, it ain't worth it, man. Like, you know, I'm sure there are plenty of people who have had domestic squabbles, yelled and gotten a little scuffles here and there. All right. I know people are human. All right. I'm not judging anyone. Hey man, I've seen situations where women have beat on men and come at men with weapons, and they've had to defend themselves, and vice versa, right? On the same side. I get that. Okay. But oftentimes what you see are predatorial situations where one party is defenseless and the other is taking advantage of it completely. All right. That wasn't a situation where, you know, he's been hit by her, you know, there was mutual combat. She put his life in danger. Someone's getting away from you and you chase him and do that. You know, you're in the wrong, man. That like they're, if she took your Rolex and it was $100K, that means you had insurance on it. That means you had proof of ownership. Call the cops, bro. It's a female. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. You know, dude's worth billions, and you went and beat the hell out of someone over $100,000 Rolex that was a female, allegedly. Come on, man. It's not that doesn't pass the logic test, bro. That's out of control, you know. And like I said, someone, one of the mods, get again out of the comment section, please. Again, thank you in advance. To be a billionaire, man, I don't know. I don't know how much you need to be a billionaire. Yeah, he needed a timeout. He's being weird. Thanks, Brooklyn Red. But yeah, with that being said, like I said, I'm touching on that because, and I know I'm being redundant here, but don't end up that guy. Like I said, I'm not here to judge anyone. I know shit happens in relationships. I get it. All right. But when people have money, they think they can do anything they want. All right. What do I think of the flurry of legislation in the House? Well, it's not so much that they're enacting it in the House that brought attention to me, where I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. It's the fact that it's going to the Senate and it's being passed unanimously. Like, well, not, I mean, obviously you're going to have some nays in there, but it's being passed by the majority, right? So yeah, bills come out all the time or get introduced to the floor all the time. It's the fact that they're working together and they're approving it in a bipartisan manner quickly. Like that doesn't typically happen, especially it seems now you have an environment where you see more radicals on both sides of the fence. Like you have more radical lefts and more radical rights now than you've ever had, in my opinion. So the fact that they're able to put those differences aside and say, hey man, we got to pass these laws, that's significant. Yep, Kita, exactly. Bipartisan legislation. Scotty J said the most extreme right and extreme left votes yes, something's going down. No, I don't have a convertible. These bad boys back here would get wet, man, if I did. So, gotta keep these dry. No, I don't have a convertible. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's not the fact that the House is introducing legislation to the floor. It's the fact they're like, hey, I know we don't like each other. We need to get this done. That tells me, like I said, I don't know what's coming, but something big is coming down the pipeline regarding digital assets, crypto, blockchain, DLT. They all don't want people in their business. They have to vote yes because it's almost time. T, if Japan is using XRP in 25, will that just be in country? No. No, it won't be just in country. There'd be no need for them to just, I mean, it's a cross-border asset. So, I mean, they're going to be using it to exchange with other regions globally, in my opinion. Do you think this is from Quincy, do you think this great shift in exposure of the evils of society is evident that the biblical verse, the meek shall inherit the earth, is coming to the forefront? TC said, is that my dad? Dad, is that you? I think you need a billion to be a billionaire, but I could be wrong. I think that's my dad. Dad, if that's you, say what's up, man. I'm waiting to see if that's my dad. I'm pretty sure that's my dad. What do I think of Velo? I touched on that on the last video. I think Velo's cool, but I haven't done a deep dive on it. So, well, yeah, that's why I'm doing lives now again, because the legislation is ramping things up, and like I said, I've never seen anything like that, man. Where they and it's a combination of things, right? It's not just that they're passing it in the House, and then obviously the Senate is getting it, and they're agreeing on it. The majority of the Senate is agreeing on it. What else is interesting about that is that obviously it's during an election year, and then what else is interesting about that? Hold on, let me go back. Is that you're seeing, you're starting to see these partnerships ramp up on top of that. Now, here's the other kicker for me. The Ripple US dollar stablecoin, not only going on the XRP ledger, but also going on the ERC20 network as well. So they're going to be operating on two separate networks. And I mean, you have stable coins that go obviously to, multiple networks. Like, that's not the first time this has happened, but with the political attack against USD Tether, that's kind of telling, so what are we going to see when regulations and legislation come down on stable coins, right? And like I stated last video, why would Ripple be introducing a US dollar-backed stablecoin in the midst of legal woes, right? Almost like the right people pulled them behind the curtain and said, we need you to get this done, right? Where everyone was saying, oh, well, this is maybe going to be a scenario where, the XRP ledger goes defunct because, they've waited too late to enact all these features. Well, maybe sometimes certain things need to be chosen first before, what's up, Dad? What's going on, man? Maybe certain things need to be chosen first before you see that happen, right? What I mean by that is maybe there wasn't an enterprise grade demand for any of those features on the XRP ledger from venture capitalists, institutions, banks, companies, etc. And then maybe some folks got together behind the scenes, central banks, you name it, and said, all right, we're going to choose a series of protocols, and those series of protocols that we want to use and benefit from need to have certain features on them so that we can, conduct efficient utility and transactions on these things. And then maybe the old dinosaur in the XRP ledger was suddenly awoken. And they said, we want this tech, we want to use this platform essentially, and we want certain features on here. Get together with who you got to get together with, devs, software engineers, etc. And we need some stuff coded on these ledgers, and we need some things introduced, like maybe a stable coin or, etc. And maybe that's now why you're starting to see all these cross-chain amendments, price oracles, side chain amendments, the discussion about hooks, we'll see where that goes, etc. DeFi, automated market makers, you name it. It's kind of like, hey man, this is all kind of happening like back to back to back to back, right? And I'm not saying it's perfect, but what I'm saying is that I don't think these things would have been implemented without the proper demand for them behind the scenes. If institutions weren't calling for it, I don't even think they'd bother, right? But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but we'll see. We'll see in a few. But they would use the ETH network. Well, they're already using the ETH network. Of course they're going to use it, right? And that's not a bad thing. We want them to use the ETH network. You need smart contract application, right? So you're going to need stuff like Hedera. You're going to need stuff like ERC20. You're going to need stuff like Algorand. You're going to need stuff like the XDC network and the Dassel bridge interconnecting XRC20 and ERC20. You're going to need all of that, right? Like, this is not... People say, oh, they're going to use ERC20, blah, 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 like they're not going to use anything else. Like, that's not, with all due respect, that's not how that works, okay? And that's never going to be how it works, all right? You look, there's a reason why they've established interop between the Ethereum virtual machine and the XRP ledger. There's a reason why Ripple's stablecoin is going on the XRP ledger and the Ethereum network. Maybe there's going to be some serious interop between a smart contract applicator interoperating with the neutral bridge asset and financial messages. You got T plus zero settlement. When that happens, that's what I'm waiting for, right? The HVPS testing is significant because that's regarding institutions that conduct high value payments. So that was a big milestone for me, the fact that it was tested successfully. Obviously, high value payment institutions are not settling payments with digital assets yet, but with the right legislation and plumbing repairs regarding the messaging to incorporate or to enable them to incorporate digital asset information into those messages, and then seeing the interop with all the other components, man, look, all right, stop, get out of that singular mindset that they're only gonna use. They're only gonna use the XRP, they're only gonna use the RC20, they're only gonna use Quant. Who told you that? Why do you think that? Junior, what's up, man? It's a multipolar environment, and I don't know after all these years how people are not able to grasp that concept. And I don't say that disrespectfully. I'm saying the evidence is right there in your face that there's going to be multiple things used, not just one. Let them go ahead and try to enact an entire monetary system on just the RC20. No Hedera, no Quant, no cross-chain interop. That alone, like, how do you see all of these institutions desiring cross-chain interoperability and then turn around and look yourself in the mirror with any sort of dignity and tell yourself it's going to be a singular chain running the entire monetary system? Like I said, who told you that, man? Who's telling you guys this? It's not going to be a ton of them, pero lo poco elegido. That means the chosen few. There will be a chosen few protocols that will run this monetary system together. All right? This whole tribalistic mindset about how it's going to be this one only, it can't work that way. Let me ask you guys something here. Let me ask you something here. You said you don't brush his teeth. I do. The car light is yellow. See, if I get out and I smile in proper light, my teeth are going to be white. Yeah, they're already chosen. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I get like this weird yellow, and it's probably, you know what it probably is too, because I noticed that it's probably the amount of greenish yellow at the park. We got a pretty lush area, man, so it kind of shines in like this weird tint, like. But I like the park. I don't care. I know my teeth are straight. Ugh. Man, it's getting hot in here. Yeah, even my skin gets a weird yellowish tone in here, and I'm like, man, my skin is not like brownish yellow. They affected Marxism. I don't know what Marxism is. Oh, and then it probably doesn't help that my light's always on in my car too. Duh. Sitting in here with a freaking yellow light on. Oh, I don't care about that. Like I said, it's just lighting, man. That does that. It's that's not a big deal, bro. My teeth are not naturally yellow. It's just the shade, the tint of the light that gives off. It's not. That's not a big deal, man. You don't gotta worry about that. So, do you think the price of XRP is purposely suppressed? Turn that off. Well, here's the thing, right? Do I think they I don't know. That's a tough question, right? Because then you can start talking about automated market makers or not automated market makers in general. Oh Lord, bots, trading bots on the ledger. There's been all sorts of discussion about whether or not Ripple. Was I about to ask you guys something? Oh, I don't know. I just like that, Kita. It's no worries. No, it was just funny because, like I said, I wasn't tripping about it. I've always noticed it. Like, why is the lighting like that in my car? Or really, it's like I said, just at the park. But it's not a big deal. Like I said, I wasn't even really defending it. Who was this parking next to me? Yeah, we got some weirdos over here. But yeah. Anyways, I don't know if it's a scenario where they're directly I think market manipulation regarding the SEC making certain moves has suppressed the price because of lack of demand and correlation with the circulating supply, right? But I think outside of that, is there a concerted effort from trading bots and algorithmic features to purposely keep the price low? Probably, right? Like I think the question here is who's doing it, right? Is Ripple responsible, for something like that directly? Is the SEC, behind the scenes doing something crazy like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain? I don't know, man. Right? Like I don't know. Say what you want is going to come on, man. Really? No, the government's not going to buy XRP back from you. That's ridiculous. That's never going to happen. What's up? What's up? I don't think it's the central banks suppressing the price. I think it's just just a poor market environment regarding the asset. I mean, there's not a huge amount of demand for it right now. So, I mean, you're just going to see that, right? In a speculative environment, you're going to see it where, it's low demand, high circulating supply, low price, and the sell pressure as well. You have to factor that in with those other variables. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's one of those things where I don't know if there's one entity or one force that's doing that, right? It's just, you know, could just be algorithmic, like I said, in nature. But with the right amount of demand and all that good stuff, said correct, they'll take it from you. Well, or they'll use other methods of intimidation to get you out of it, right? Oh, we got Kirkland in the house. What's up, man? Michael said, hold on, let me. He said, Jason McPherson is a coward. Find something to do with yourself, knowing if you've seen that man in the street, you'd be trying to speak and get a pic. I don't even, like I said, I don't even know what he said. I'm not, I didn't call or say definitively that XRP was going to $100,000. Now, what I did say, and I'm going to clarify this, and I'll stand on my opinion all day. I think if the right amount of demand, reduction of supply, store value narratives, and long-term holding for not only utility purposes, but like I said, for the store value purposes as well, happened, and you saw that circulating supply dwindle down maybe to, I don't know, 100 million, maybe a little less, because there was that much demand for it. Yeah, they can go to six figures. I don't care. You know, the Twitter police can come and get me and lock me up in Twitter jail and tell me I'm a delusional psychopath for thinking anything like that's possible. It's possible. What's up? What's up? Yep. I'm just looking at the comments. Oh, you see the bracelet? Yeah, I actually got that in Colombia. Yeah, I don't, like I said, man, I don't worry about the trolls, man. I always say this, at this stage, I'm not watching them, they're watching me. Like, I'm not on your channel worried about you. So the fact that you're on here, I say I don't even worry about that, man. Folks, in May, who's calling for T0 to be implemented in May? Is there a specific company that's looking to do that? So I think if anyone were going to do that first, it would probably be India. I don't know. All the stuff that I've seen, and I'm saying that because a lot of what I've seen regarding T-based settlement, it usually is like T+1. So come on, man. Let's. All right, man. Look, please stop. I really don't want to. Look, man. I know you guys are joking about Vel and stuff. Please, man. Let's just keep that stuff to a minimum because I don't. Was it March? I thought India was going to wait a little bit later to do their T+0. I mean, I think any blockchain creating a stable coin is a good thing, especially if there's going to be institutional interest for it. Flare, man, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't know enough about what Flare has planned for the future to speak on them definitively, right? Like, Flare is kind of a shadowy protocol, right? So I don't know. I don't know what they got going on. T+1, yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. T+0 gets involved, and you're talking instant settlement at that point, not like same day. You're talking about the moment of transactions conducted, boom. And that's what I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting to see, like, no crap, let's go to yeah, I would benefit from those glasses, right? Most definitely. I'm just looking at the comments. Someone said Diddy's in the room. So you know what? I'll say this for anyone who wonders about whether or not a stable coin being launched on a protocol is a good or bad thing. Just take a look at some of the more senior protocols that that have stable coins already, and then ask yourself what's the price action on them. You guys, come on, man. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. What, bro? What is wrong with you, man? Look at these comments, bro. Really? Shush, be quiet. Bro. Really? Oh man, you guys are wild, man. He said Yankees with a brim. I thought all hats had a brim to them, bro. It's a trucker hat is what it is. Now, if you're talking about on some street stuff, look, let me tell you something. Let me tell you some quick history. If you're getting at what I think you're getting at, which is funny, but if you know your politics, you would know that maybe brims have a certain relationship, very close relationship, with someone that may be on the neighborhood side, on that side of the fence. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not even look, man, I'm a grown-ass man at this point, man. All right, truth be told, I'll wear what I want, as far as I'm concerned. But if you're someone that knows me from the past, and you're getting at what I think you're getting at, you gotta do your history lessons a little bit more, brother. That's all I'm gonna say to you. Because there's some stuff you may not know, where you may actually be putting your foot in your mouth on that, if that's what you're getting at. But what's up? What's up? I don't know what 10-minute investing even is. I don't. Yeah, it's a snapback. It's a trucker snapback hat. I say y'all in here. we got folks in here. Listen, I tell you, this is how I know your guys' minds are in the wrong place. You guys are gonna screw yourselves over, bro. You guys over here worried about street stuff. You're supposed to be in here learning about finance. Y'all be the same ones out there, man. Like, all right, you better watch what's going on with these rappers out here walking around with millions of dollars and getting shot, you know, because you still want to be stupid. It's a what investment? I'm just looking at these comments. So yeah, these are 12s that I have back here. They're just they're nothing spectacular. It's just L7 Q series. Crypto B-Boy said too many wannabes. I'm just looking at the comments. I don't know when the judge makes her final ruling. Right, I'm not 100% sure about that. I think someone was saying she has like 3 months to make a decision, but oh, okay, I see what you're saying now. So it's an actual person. Oh, okay. 10-minute investing. I got you now. Okay. At first I was kind of like, what? I was like, what is 10-minute investing? Like, I was like, what is this, some sort of new strategy or something? Like, but okay, I got you now. I see what you're getting at. I'm sorry about that, man. My bad. Initially, I was like, huh? I was like, is this like, you know, a speed dating type app or? My bad, man. Yeah, he said it's a YouTube channel. Team Mina. Okay, yeah, I'll check him out. Or yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure that I. He said he would like a live. Oh, I think you know what? I think is that the guy that hit me on Twitter? I like that comment from Crypto B-Boy. The streets never got love. Neither does the mentality. Yeah, like I said, folks will learn the hard way, bro. It's all good. August for the judicial decisions. I mean, it could be, right? Like I said, I don't really know when they're gonna do that. Yeah, I mean, I'd talk with them. I don't even know what Nate 420 is talking about. Oh, okay, we got a troll in here. Do I tuck or free ball? Yep. Maybe another dude that I said that's why I don't even pay attention to stuff like that, man. At this point, no, I'm getting damn well if you saw me in person, you'd be smiles and hugs. It's all good. Um, he says that you're gay. Okay. Yeah, that's good for him. Did you see Moon Lambo? Oh, what happened? He said something about Crypto Hulk. What happened? He said Moon Lambo. No, I didn't see that. What happened? Why so okay. Why do Moon Lambo and Crypto Hulk have issues now? What's going on? Well, I don't have anything bad to say about either one of them at this point. I mean, it is what it is, but that's weird that Moon Lambo's not usually like that. That's why it's like, what happened between the two of them? No, CB. None of them are talking about the bills in Congress because that takes some research. Now I'll tell you who is talking about it. There's two groups of people that I've seen talking about, three groups: the listeners, the Discord, and my group. The group I started out with, the Kurtz, the 901s, Cavs, Outlaws, CBs, Chicos, etc. Right? Both of those groups have been actively talking about crypto legislation for a while now. A lot of these guys, man, that, like I said, are out here trying to get your money. Look, all right, let me put this into perspective for you. The reason why you're not going to see them talking about it is because it doesn't get you, it's not going to get you the views and clicks that you want. This is the same reason why for years I've had to say what? Lawsuit resolution, regulatory clarity, legislation and classification for digital assets. We need comprehensive regulatory and legislative framework implemented. And I've had to say it so many times, it's like people don't pay attention to legislation being important. They don't think it's that important, right? You got folks out here who literally thought that you didn't need congressional legislation passed to see anything significant happen with the token, right? Okay, like I said, man. So no, people are not going to talk about it, right? Because and these have been points that I've tried to, man. I have tried to drive home for a long time. So the folks, like I said, that I named, they've been on that train, right? We've been on the we need laws, and Brad Garlinghouse has been saying it. How many times has he said, man, it's not clear. We need better regs and we need law, right? But what Congress wanted is for someone to grease the right pockets. Now, did that happen behind the scenes? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it did happen, right? Drake or Kendrick? Kendrick. It's not even close, man. Yeah, Spidey's dope, Mr. Man. Yeah. Yeah, I rock with Spidey. That's the homie. Roaring Kitty. Yeah, I saw that. The Roaring Kitty thing. What? He said thoughts thoughts on Drake being a certified pedo and a 69 god. Hey man, look, Grown man on stage kissing a 17-year-old in the mouth after she said she was 17. I mean, look, I don't know, man. If it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, if it acts like a duck, maybe it's a duck. I'm just saying. Quincy, or one of the admins, get Virginia Redbone out of here, please. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm taking a look at these comments right now. Yeah, but I mean, it's Kendrick, you know, with for me by a landslide, right? Like it's not even close. That's some weirdo, man. You know, the trolls, the trolls like to come out on here, man, and show their behinds. I mean, look. He said T is the weirdo. Someone said that Congress was supposed to be doing something important tomorrow. I just can't remember what. I may leave it up. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Oh, this bracelet, man, you guys got a good eye. I got it from Colombia. I don't even for the person who said wear a MAGA hat so I can get super chats. I wouldn't get super chats anyways. I wouldn't get it because my channel's not monetized. So yeah, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, in order to get super chats on your channel, you have to turn monetization on and become a partner on YouTube. So that's why you guys don't see super chats in here. Yep, Colombia. He said, "Don't do it, T." Do what? Turn on monetization? Is that what you're talking about, Zolion? Colombia, Antioquia, Medellin, Bogota, Cali, Cartagena, like the country, not Columbia, South Carolina. No, I'm not going to turn on monetization because, you know, I mean, you don't have to ask people for money just because you're monetized, but what often happens is people feel pressured to give, right? Because the super chat feature is enabled, you know, and then people start pouring money into your channel. And while sure, more money is good for anyone, right? At what expense, right? People shouldn't be, like I said, with these type of economic times, keep your money, man. Dream car? I don't know. I don't really have a dream car, right? I have a dream system, so I would need a certain type of vehicle to put it in there. But I mean, which would probably be like a Tahoe or something big like that. What is my crypto portfolio looking like? I don't know, because I don't have one, hypothetically, right? You should monetize. If people want to donate, don't turn it down. No, I mean, because then there's another side to monetization, right? You monetize, they control you, okay? And they can essentially, you know, that's when you start seeing folks getting their channels taken away, videos demonetized. Like, I don't want YouTube having that type of leverage over me. Can a stable coin be held on a decent or ledger? I don't know. I have to go look, right? Dream car is a paid for car. Hey, man, I agree with that. I'm just looking at these comments, but yeah. do, do you say colorful things? Everything you've said so far is pretty safe to me. Well, I mean, come on, man. What do you want me to say? I mean, I said something pretty colorful earlier when someone was like, oh, do you still think, you know, in time it could reach a 6-figure number? And what did I say? I said well, I mean, maybe that's not what do people want me to say? Oh, without nothing happening in a speculative environment and no legislation and no regs, a token with 50 billion in circulating supply and a high market cap can immediately just skyrocket to $1 million? No, that's not possible. Now, like I stated earlier, if a series of things happen in correlation with one another, sky's the limit. And there's no telling what the token can reach, right? So what's the point? Now this is a pretty interesting question. He said, what's the point of investing in XRP if there's no regs in play? Well, here's what you have to ask yourself. You don't know what the infrastructure behind the scenes looks like, or what the plans of the banks, institutions, companies, venture capitalist firms are, right? So if you don't know what those plans are and what's going to happen in the future, if there's a scenario where things are already ramped up behind the scenes infrastructurally, and they jump in once those regs and laws are passed, what do you think that does to the price? I'm not telling you what to do one way or another. I'm just saying that's something that you have to look at, right? What do you do then, right? You wait until after those things are passed, venture capitalist, you know, funds and, you know, institutional capital comes in, and, you know, these tokens start getting acquired, and then it gets to a price where it's unaffordable. That's why it pays to be in stuff early. Just saying. Or you can just wait until it goes up to, you know, whatever price that is. Maybe it's a double-digit number, maybe it's higher, who knows? And then you can just buy small amounts then and hope that, you know, you can build something sustainable for yourself. Like I said, I'm not telling anyone what to do or what to buy. He said, get to the chopper, huh? I'm just looking at these comments. I don't know enough about that token. How to take profit? I mean, I don't. It depends, man. I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean by that question? When you say how to take profit, what do you mean? Do you mean when should you take profit, right? That's venturing into the financial advice territory. Money isn't real. Yeah, well, try not paying your mortgage or your car payment or putting gas in your vehicle or doing any of the things that require money, like buying clothes or groceries. You could say it's not real, but you need it to survive. Oh, yeah, that's the FA type stuff, man. You're talking about like trading strategies and like, I don't get involved with that. If you don't think money's real, then you shouldn't be invested in the crypto. You shouldn't be invested in anything if you don't think it's real, right? I get the philosophical angle that you're probably trying to come at with the whole money isn't real comment, but I mean, like I said, you know, try doing something tangible without it, and that involves, you know, some sort of an exchange value or serve, or you know, money's a bartering tool, you know. Um, you just have to go check his channel out, man. If you want thoughts on him, go check out his content. What do you think about him? Is the question. I don't have anything on my shirt because you can't see my shirt. Got a jacket on. Don't know enough about the coin, man. Like I said, a bum or boom or however the heck you say it. I don't know enough about it. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Hey, man. I guess money's not real. There you go. I don't think anyone's sleeping on H bar in here. They're just not talking about it right now. But I think people are familiar enough with it, and that's why. He said, I can't figure out if he's using XRP to try and sell us on his podcast. I mean, like I said, man, that's where, you know, I mean, Jake's cool, a cool dude as far as I'm concerned, but you know, you just use your discernment. You know, do you like his content? Have you fact checked him? You know, you should be, look, all right, I'm just going to be 100% transparent with you. If you're following anyone in the crypto community, you need to be fact checking every last one of us, right? And it doesn't mean we're going to get everything right, but like we should be on a pretty decent path in terms of giving guidance, right? Like, I'm just saying, all you have to do is go and fact check. You know, someone's telling you, oh, you know, this token can do this, and here's why, then go and look at those metrics, you know, and research it and see, you know, is that possible? And would there be certain catalysts to make certain things happen, right? I'm not recommending any meme coins, man. Like I said, you guys asking me about, you know, that stuff, I don't. That's why I'm not saying anything. If interoperability can be coded into coins, wouldn't there be a super coin created that just does it all like a go? No. Nope. No, there wouldn't. But on that note, I'm going to call you guys back, or call you guys back. I had a call coming in, so I'm going to hop off, and we'll see what happens with the laws and stuff, and whether or not we get some fireworks. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end this bad boy. And catch you guys on the flip side.